reading is from Censored number 89, and it's called The Evil Corporation. Anyone who has not been in a coma for the last 3.5 years and who is not completely blinded by chauvinistic politics has got to finally be aware that political conservatism is an emotional disorder, psychological pathology. Now that liberals are getting the message out and ridding the airways and other media of its conservative bias, independent thinkers now can see the difference between truth and propaganda and outright lies. It should be clear to all now that our economy and our way of life suffers because corporations have been given too much power. Business and their whorish lobbyists have become petty despots. Today, globalization, in terms of the evil corporation, is merely a substitute for the nation and its dictator who wants to conquer the world. Corporate supremacy came into being May the 10th, 1886. A reporter's mistake concerning a court case. This power gift to corporations was illegitimate, carrying no force of law. It was a lie. This lie has had Americans believing that every corporate business structure, according to the United States Constitution, is equal to real human beings possessing all the rights of people. For well over 100 years, this mistake has been assumed to be true and has granted corporations undue rights. Corporations aren't mentioned in the Constitution. They're not part of the natural order of things. Our founding fathers thought corporations to be beasts and a threat to a people's democracy. The American rebels fought King George III, and they specifically went to war against the plutocratic imperialism of British trading corporations that were imposing their private will on the colonies. The Sons of Liberty tossed corporate tea into Boston Harbor. Corporations are anti-democratic structures steered by wealthy elites. Evil corporations amass more money than the public can muster. Money to elevate their private interest above the common good. They also absolve themselves from any damage they do. If corporations do bad things, their owners rarely go to jail or pay fines. The owners reap only benefits while avoiding all responsibility and accountability. The corporate structure, as we know it, is an enemy of democracy. The evil corporation has but one aim: private gain, the bottom line. The Founding Fathers understood that the corporate beast was in need of control, and so state charters were created to be watchdogs for the public interest. To obtain a charter, a corporation had to have a public purpose, was limited as to the type of business it could do, it wasn't allowed to purchase other corporations, it could only take in a certain amount of capital. Charters expired in 15 or 20 years and had to be renewed. a corporation was forced to treat farmers, small businesses, and other suppliers fairly and responsibly. They were also banned from lobbying or political campaigning. Do we see the damage that deregulation has done? Thomas Jefferson and James Madison wanted to add an 11th Amendment to the United States Constitution that would prevent companies from growing too large. This would prevent them from dominating entire industries and gaining power to influence the people's government. Jefferson sought a formal declaration of freedom of commerce against monopolies. The Founding Fathers regarded the corporation as a beast that couldn't act with restraint, that perpetually seeks to expand its reach, wealth, and power beyond whatever limits society draws. Industrialization and corporate power continued to grow through the Civil War years, and war contracts helped. Today, Vice President Dick Cheney helps his favorite company, Halliburton, to get richer through war profiteering and no-bid contracts, which are classified. As a direct result of the opportunities for theft presented to corporations by the Civil War, corruption raged through the United States. Many feared that now wealth would be aggregated in a few hands and the Republic destroyed. A prophecy come true? In the 1870s, the robber barons seized power. All competition was ignored, tossed aside. Governors were bribed, as well as legislatures. Hacked judges were installed, and state control over corporations began to wane. Cornelius Vanderbilt said, "What do I care about the law? Ain't I got the power?" Today, corporations are bigger, richer, and more powerful than we, the people. These corporations have no moral restraints of their own. Still, these corporations only exist by the will of the public, we, the people. With the passage of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution in 1868, corporations and their lawyers began insisting that corporations were persons, not things. This was the mistake alluded to earlier. In the 1886 decision, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad, court reporter J.C. Bancroft Davis wrote his personal opinion in the headnote that the defendant corporations are persons within the intent of the clause in Section 1 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which forbids a state to deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The case never mentioned personhood, nor granted personhood. This personal opinion has come down to us as law. This piece of incompetency has become the cornerstone on which rests all assertions of corporate rights. In this case, the court actually avoided meeting the constitutional questions on corporate personhood. Soon, corporate lawyers were singing the praises of the headnote as the law of the land. Like a snowball rolling downhill, this big lie found support among judges and politicians who had never read the actual case, much like conservatives do today with issues. Since 1886, the lie regarding corporate rights has grown unchecked. Soon, corporate lawyers claim the First Amendment right to give money to political candidates and to lobby the government for special interest laws. Corporations claim the 14th Amendment right to prevent local communities from favoring homegrown businesses over chain stores. Corporations claim the 4th Amendment right to stop regulators from conducting surprise inspections of factories and the corporate records of polluters, meatpackers, etc. As a direct result of no accountability, today's corporations now claim they have the right to lie. The free speech right to lie. Today, evil corporations spend billions of dollars on lobbyists, campaign donations, public relations firms, and the result has been that corporations now own public policy. Corporations are amoral, and they are unrestrained. How does all this evil corporation stuff relate to the Bible, the foundation of right-wing conservative Christianity? Republican Christian conservatives claim that morals and capitalism derive from religious soil. The free market's invisible hand is supposed to be the hand of God. Is it? Bonds, bills of exchange, and personal checks come from pagan Babylon. Jesus' apostles, the early church, held all things in common and distributed goods according to individual need. Acts 2:44 through 45. The Bible admonishes that men must rise above the love of money. Evildoers persecute the virtuous, hate the truth, know nothing of devotion to goodness and just judgment. The widow and orphan are nothing to them. All they look for is their own advantage. They have no pity for the poor. Sounds like a description of conservatives. We read in Matthew 21, verses 12 through 13, that Jesus threw the sellers and money changers out of the temple. In 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14, God says that friendship with the world is enmity to God. True Christians are to set their affection on things that are above, not things on the earth. Colossians 3, verses 1 through 2. While in Proverbs 16, verse 18, God says that to equate wealth and righteousness, superiority and moral superiority is simply pride, a haughty spirit. God commands in Exodus 22, verse 25, not to lend at interest. Luke 6:34 through 36 says that Christians are to lend expecting nothing in return. At Jesus' second coming, everyone gets a new deal, and God's economics will prevail. Everyone will have his own land and business. Isaiah 61, verses 1 through 2, and Micah 4, verse 4. Today in America, the drive for profit is matched by a loss of quality. In 1998, over 50% of United States organizations, government and private, were victims of fraud the previous year. And 50% of these serious frauds were committed by the organization's own management. The cost of all this is $400 billion a year. The overwhelming majority of these frauds were committed by those who considered themselves religious. This doesn't sound like God's economics. The United States Constitution was written for a people with strong morals. But Americans have become a people who no longer know what a conflict of interest is, what war profiteering is, who's a crook and who's intelligent and worthy of honor and respect. We lack a moral compass. We seem only to understand the get way of life. In our society, the rich give to appease, not to please. We know and respect only materialism and self-centeredness. All measures in American society are materialistic ones. We respect only the paycheck, not the Creator. In Leviticus 26, verse 6, God says that all the wealth comes from the ground, and that He owns all the silver and the gold. Haggai 2, verses 6 through 8. In the millennium, there will be a fixed standard of value that will never change. No one will get rich by investing in the labors and creative talents of another. Around the world, the United States is known for its corporate greed. Usury, a cornerstone of modern capitalism, is condemned in Nehemiah 5, verses 6 through 8. How does all this sit with modern-day credit card companies? Worldwide, 20 million people die of malnutrition every year. And 13 million of these are children. Each day, 35,000 children die of malnutrition. Also, 17% of the 65 million Americans who are under 18 and live in poverty, while over 100,000 children wake up homeless every single day. Daily, 2,685 babies are born into poverty. This is obscene. Yet, conservatives are moved to protect embryos rather than help real, live, suffering children. Our modern materialist society has no concept of the true meaning of success. Only about 10% of the Earth's land is tillable. Yet municipalities around our nation continue at warp speed to pave over and redevelop vital land in search of ratables and profit. Americans worship business. Big business is the god of Americans. In this monopoly culture, conservatives have perverted the concept of success. Their concept of success is the acquisition of money. They believe that success is the result of superior ability. To them, failures are misfits, and they don't believe everyone has a purpose. In short, success to conservatives is about acquiring money, material possessions, and status. They betray their religion by putting things before God. They disobey Malachi 3, verse 5, 1 Peter 2, verses 21, Revelation 2, 26, by oppressing the weak and the worker. They are hypocrites. Their religion is a calculated form. that which is acquired by their society, that which is required by their society to allow them to appear righteous. It's all counterfeit and public relations. Nothing is true. It's without foundation, based on nothing. Free trade is destroying America. Pat Buchanan said it best: free trade does to a nation what alcoholism does to a man. Saps him first of his vitality, then his energy, then his independence, then his life. American economics are based on coveting, a violation of the Ten Commandments. The Bible states plainly that competition is of the devil, and that humans don't own the earth. They only have dominion over it. God owns the earth. Psalm 24, verses 1 through 2, 1 Corinthians 10, verse 26, and Job 41, verse 11. America's trade deficit for 2004 is $600 billion. It has doubled in 5 years. The tragedy of Iraq has made it clear that power isn't leadership. America, through the dollar, maintains power on the world stage. But as the dollar continues to undergo devaluation and the euro continues to strengthen, America is heading for economic and moral marginalization. America's insidious cancer is the devilish belief that gain is godliness. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 3 through 5. In 1960, the richest 20% of the world's population was worth 30 times that of the poorest 20%. Today, the rich are worth 80 times more. Never has the gap between the rich and poor been so wide. A good economy has low inflation, low unemployment, and high growth. Our weak dollar makes foreign currencies more expensive, which makes imports more expensive and exports from the United States cheaper. America's trade deficit is paid for by selling assets, and 30 years of these trade deficits have done away with this country's manufacturing capacity. A weak dollar results in higher interest rates and prices, especially on imports. America's strength is being spent in vain. Leviticus 26, verse 20. 50% of all United States government bonds in circulation today are owned by foreigners. Evil American corporations and their whore politicians have systematically sold America down the drain. Globalization is a scam to raise the rest of the world's standards of living while lowering the living standards of Americans. American taxpayers are subsidizing their own drift into third worldism. Behind all this perverseness are those like George W. Bush, who wrongly believes God talks to him. These pathological ideologues are slowly destroying America from within. These people wouldn't know the truth if they tripped over it. They only understand power and lining their pockets. And they slavishly render help to evil corporations whose ultimate objective is world domination. Who are the real traitors? Who are the real crooks? Who are the real crypto-Nazis? Who are the other evildoers? Do you know? The end.
Hi, this is William Morrow. Are you one of those people who join a health club, and after they have your big, overpriced annual membership, you notice that you're on your own with little or no results even after all the promises? Then the website Personal Trainer is for you.
Thank you very much, William H. Morrow III. So you lost another argument with a conservative, right-wing Republican. He talked over you. He screamed and yelled. He brought out the Bible. He thumped it. He quoted scripture to you. You were lost because you came at him with facts. Nothing but facts. And you expected that would make you look good. That would make you win the argument, but it didn't. You know why you lost the argument? You know why you're going to lose your next argument? Because you don't read Censored. Censored, the 30-year-old newsletter that shows you how to defeat a conservative. Read Censored, and you'll have all the ammunition you need. Every time you get into an argument with a right-wing conservative, so-called Christian. Censored. That's all you need. Read it and defeat a conservative.
Greetings, listeners. Let me speak to you for a moment about the foundation of our entire organization, Newsletters Censored. It was founded by our mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, in 1977. It discusses the 5 taboos of American life: politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. You won't find anything like this in the mainstream media and the press. It reveals the kind of truth that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? We are living in the end times, so in order to defeat a conservative and save America, you need Newsletters Censored. Go to www.newslettercensored.com, click on the printable order form page, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription. This is James P. Madonna of Megalife 21, the hardest hitting internet talk radio station on the planet.